The Hawaii Sports Radio Network presents Wake Up in the Den with Kuʻulei Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. I'm Kuʻulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht, and you're listening and watching on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, streaming on hawaiisportsradio.com, the Hawaii Sports Radio Network app, and via our YouTube channel. Hello and welcome to the show on this Aloha Monday. Happy to have you guys with us this and every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, streaming live from 8 to 10 a.m. Hawaii time. And then you can always go back and watch and listen on demand wherever you get your podcasts, or of course on our YouTube channel. So once again, thank you guys all, as always, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. Chime in on the live chat if you want, or text us at 808-888-5481. That's 808-888-5481 if you do want to get in on any of the conversation. And hello, it is game week. Shout out, hit the sound effects, Paul. It is game week, everybody. Let's go. Yeah, it's the double whammy of a game week. I can get with that. It is game week. University of Hawaii football game week. It is here, taking on Stanford this Saturday. Wow. We get some college football, everybody. Week 0, but most importantly, we get some University of Hawaii football action this Saturday, 1 o'clock p.m. Hawaii time at Stanford. You can watch it on the ACC network. So that is where you can find the game. Again, ACC next week, Saturday, is nationally televised as well on the CW. And then the following game against New Mexico State, that is when you will get your first K5, the home team, a football game. So a lot of University of Hawaii football stuff to get into in just a little bit, of course. We'll let you guys hear. Paul and I went to practice on Saturday. It was kind of already starting the game prep / the scrimmages, in a sense, really prepping for Stanford already. So we'll let you know what some of the things we observed, but probably most interestingly, we'll let you hear a little bit from a defensive coordinator, Dennis Thurman, again, and what he had to say now that we are really in this game week prep. Jared Ursua, we haven't heard from him all fall camp. I did kind of want to wait until we got to this moment, along with Thomas Sheffield. So Thomas Sheffield fills us in a little bit about the special team situation. And then, of course, Jared Ursua, pass game coordinator / wide receivers coach. We've got a lot of studs there in the wide receiver room. So excited to let you guys hear some of those snippets from them. And we'll discuss a lot of Hawaii football. Take a look at the lines as well. It has made some movement. And then coming up a little later in the show, we welcome back Paul's Parlor. So we'll get into some of the lines that well. So it's going to be a fun time. We're excited to have you guys with us. We'll also get into a little bit of University of Hawaii soccer as the Rainbow Wahine notched their first win of the season. Let's go. In true soccer fashion, in which they did not really dominate in certain facets of the game. But it's okay. It's all about capitalizing when you are given opportunities. And that's exactly what they did. A 2-0 shutout over... as I got to reset this again, a 2-0 shutout over Idaho as they, notched their first win of the season, and we are getting going. And this is why our friend said it's better on the YouTube. There we go. Hopefully this is all it wants to do with us. I'm surprised she lasted that long in this I guess, early on stage of it. We'll also get into some high school football as well. A lot of great wins over the weekend, including... another, we go from Rainbow Wahine soccer shout out to, a Mililani shout out over St. Louis. Couple of OIA schools coming out with some big wins over the ILH. Mililani over St. Louis. And then you had Kahuku going up to Kamehameha Kapalama and beating the Warriors as well. So we'll get you all of those scores, everything you need to know. We'll recap our game that we covered on Friday with Kuʻulei and their massive 50-15 win over Waipahu. Let you hear from our Fun Factory VIP of the game, Mikey Kapahu. We got a lot, guys. It's a packed Monday for you all. How are you doing today, Paul? How was your weekend?
I'm doing well. I can't complain too much. The weekend went smoothly. I get to come in and talk about a football team that I've got very high expectations for this year. The Rainbow Wahine, as you mentioned, finally played at the level at which I thought that they could play. And honestly, still haven't even reached that, but they played closer at least to what I think that they could be. And that is a great stepping stone against a real solid Idaho squad. And yeah, I mean, and I still have positive Jets vibes. So what more could I really ask for in today's start to the college football season, which really starts the football season, which really starts the entire sports season.
This is so crazy. I still can't believe football is here. All right. Well, a little bit of a quick recap too of other things that happened over the weekend. Shout out to everybody that attended the Brotherhood Ball on Saturday. I was out there, and probably the biggest news to come out, even though it wasn't news to, I guess, a lot of us that were just waiting for the official announcement, but Matt Elliott announced the contract extension officially of head coach Timmy Chang. So Coach Timmy will be at the head of this program until 2031, and hopefully a lot longer, right? In an ideal world, we feel like Timmy wants to be here and really continue to put Hawaii on the map. But a 5-year extension is awesome in terms of making sure you have that stability. And we've said this before. He seems like someone this is where he wants to be. This is where he wants to coach, right? He chose to stay home at Hawaii instead of go to a bigger school when he was a player. He genuinely, I think, wants to be here for the foreseeable future, for the long-term future, as long as this football program continues to perform as we saw how it did last season, as it is expected this season. So give it another round of applause for head coach Timmy Chang.
I mean, just to build off of this, it was nice to see in general, because it is something that, although we knew was coming down the pipeline or seemed to be coming down the pipeline, it still is nice to get the details eventually.
Yeah, and actually hear Matt say it officially.
Right, and a 5-year deal, or I don't even know, because he said till January of 31, right?
I guess it's 5 season, because January would be like the end of the
2030 season, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Either way, I'm just pumped that Timmy's going to be here. I think that it is incredibly well-deserved, and also, we've talked about this before, not necessarily in coaching contracts, maybe a little bit, but in player contracts, in professional leagues and whatever. The sooner you get ahead of things, the more likely that deal is going to age well. Mm-hmm. And I think we've seen at this point that Timmy's got a pretty good grasp on Hawaii football in general, and that he is kind of on this upward trajectory as a young coach. And Hawaii is one place that unfortunately knows all too well when you have a really fun, exciting young coach. Eyes come from the continent, and then all of a sudden you might lose said young, fun coach. And this is a nice job getting in front of that, because you let Timmy know, hey, we believe in you still. We love you. We want you here. We don't want you here just on like a couple-year deal. We want you to really think about like your kid, because they have a big family, right? Mm-hmm. We want your kids to grow up here. We want your kids to graduate from high school here in Hawaii. We want Timmy Chang. We want the Chang gang here pretty much until we don't anymore.
Until he chooses to retire, because
pretty
the
much
program is just going to be competitive every season.
But that's really the thing that I took away from it, where this is a nice job by both parties of it gives Timmy the stability that I imagine every single coach in the world wants. And obviously contracts, they mean something, but also you can always like get out of contracts. You can always fight, like whatever. So I for fans who are like, oh, it doesn't mean that, I get it. But it is a 5-year more or less promise to each other. Like, hey, I want to be here. We want you here. Let's keep building this thing. And let's just be honest, by the way, Timmy's got to be here when the new Aloha Stadium opens.
Yes.
In
Good
theory,
addition by you.
This should get us to that point. Hopefully.
in theory. Speaking of the Aloha Stadium, at the Brotherhood Ball, there was like this presentation as well, like about the Aloha Stadium and I guess all of the VIP amenities. Nothing that we haven't kind of already heard or discussed on the show, which is kind of funny because I feel bad. I'm sorry, everybody, because I was like, because we actively cover it and like I'm always in watching like the meetings or whatever, the public meetings. It's like, okay, we're done now. I'm just like, can we move on? But I understand nobody, like, people usually don't keep up with it as closely as we do. But because there's all the other things too, right, where we just want to really see, like, it's awesome to see that the demolition, at least of the previous structure, is almost done. It actually is not done yet. There's still some things standing somewhat. It's just like, okay, we got to move further in this process now if it wants to be complete. Yes, hopefully, like you said, Timmy Chang will be the head coach when the new Aloha Stadium is open. But the Brotherhood Ball was a blast. I have some pictures for you guys here. So it was really cool. Shout out to Sherry Chang and her committee for putting on another awesome event, the second annual Brotherhood Ball. You had Coach Ganat right there too. I think that's always good to see at the University of Hawaii when you just have all of these coaches who continue to support each other, right? Where it truly is a brotherhood and a sisterhood from top down. So Coach EG there. Also, that brotherhood sign was awesome. And I do have that picture on the top right. Basically, that is just a little sign, and it's part of the brand new intro. I'm not going to be the one to leak any videos at all and give anything away, but you guys are going to be very excited about the new intro that is awaiting for you for next week's kickoff against UNLV. The home team intro. I did share it with Paul, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
This is true. Can confirm. And I have a price.
That's about it. Yes. Maybe if you guys are like,
the certain amount. I have a burner now.
Maybe we'll share it with you, but
that's
yes.
not true. I had to make a burner.
It's pretty darn awesome. And even more so now, you're like, man, you guys better defend home, because to have that like badass of an intro now,
it rocked.
You need to defend home even more. And what a first test. Let's just say there is a little bit of a Las Vegas type of connection in this new intro.
It's gonna be fun.
So it's kind of a fun little, the fact that it's UNLV first, and they are, I know it's debatable whether or not they're a true rival of the University of Hawaii, but you know what? The 9th Island Trophy, all of that stuff. So it was really, really cool. I do need to kind of share a little snippet as well. It was really fun. Shout out to Matt Elliott, who actually jumped in on the reggae train, because Capenna did the music. And
sorry, out of context, what a sentence. What a sentence. Matt Elliott jumped on the reggae train. Yep, I'm in. Keep going, but what? Oh gosh.
Shout out to my dance partner, Haley, the niece of Timmy and Sherry, because it was pretty much Haley and I that were the only ones like dancing almost the entire time. Like the dance floor is massive, and it was her and I. We're just jamming to Capenna the entire time. I texted my mom too, because I'm like, I'm totally my mother's daughter, or I guess from that family, the Cachola sisters. Our side of the family, we just love to dance, and I will be the first one on the dance floor, and it was pretty much both of us. There were some other people that joined in here and there, but for the most part, it was just the two of us. But yes, I want to make sure I share it with you guys on here. That there was like a little reggae train. Wait for it. Matt's coming up.
Gosh.
We got Matt in there.
I love him. He's so funny.
So shout out to Matt. And then that's Haley in the front. There's me. Is like, yeah. So it was when reggae train was going on, and I'm like, let's do the train around. Not as many people jumped on after that, but it's okay. Matt Elliott did, so that was the main thing that mattered. So
I see very important people in that line, and that's all that matters to me personally.
So shout out to everyone that was participating, and to those who probably were, I don't know, being entertained by me. Because I don't even, half the time I was just in my own world on stage with Capenna.
What you're supposed to do.
I was like, oh yeah, proof. That's literally me with no one on the dance floor. And Capenna's in the background, and that's how big the dance floor is. And it was just,
well, I'm glad the dance floor at least got a little bit of use.
It was probably only the two of us majority of the time, but again, I can just dance, and especially if it's Kapena, all time like awesomeness. They also told me to tell my mom that they said hi as well because they go into Highway Inn, and so they
That's
know
fun.
my mom. Yeah,
That's so fun. That's little world or small world Hawaii type stuff.
Yeah. But it was a fun time at the Brotherhood Ball. So if you guys are watching and you were there, you're welcome very much for the added entertainment that I may have given you. And that if you were laughing at me, with me, I don't care, as long as everybody was having fun. And again, I was just in my own world on the dance floor. But yeah, it was a fun time. Again, shout out to all of those that put on the event, raised a lot of money for the football program and much needed money, as we always talk about. But it was good to see, and that's where I like they have kind of these, different ways of giving. Like, this is definitely for those that have a lot more of the money to partake in this type of the Brotherhood Ball. The Sisterhood Social unfortunately got canceled, but that is somewhere where it's like more open to like more casual event, a lot cheaper in the dollar and everything, and more so open to the women. And throughout the season, there will be other events, like smaller events. But I like how there is at least a scale, right? Because you do need to raise a lot of money, but you do still also want to make sure that some of the fans who don't have that dollar amount can still feel like they're contributing and being a part of something fun. So overall, yeah, it was a great event that we had on Saturday night. So anyways, let's get into some University of Hawaii football now. Make sure you guys can chime in, and once again, our coverage, our expanded coverage of University of Hawaii football on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network is brought to you by Honorbox Chiropractic and Slice of Waikiki. All right, Paul, let's take a look at the early lines. I haven't looked at the line for the Stanford Hawaii game for a few weeks now, and it actually moved. A lot of people having a bit more confidence in Stanford here, because now Stanford is your 5.5-point favorite. For a while, and what it opened at was Stanford 3.5, so relatively even. Fred Field still had told us he had this game as a pick'em, right? Stanford, new head coach Tavita Pritchard, so overall new head coaching staff. They do have a significant amount of returning players as well, but also new players, so you just don't know what's going to happen. Tavita Pritchard, Stanford alum. I kind of mentioned this before, that he is almost similar to Timmy Chang, right? Like, he is the alum. He was a former quarterback, and he is coming home. I'm essentially teaming up with Andrew Luck, the GM there, another former Stanford alum, to try to rebuild this Stanford football program. But at the same time, when you're a first-year head coach, you're still learning a lot as you go, where that's something that Timmy Chang has learned, and now he has the right coaching staff around him, and they have a lot of stability in that coaching staff as well. That's part of what got them to this point, because there's that kind of stability with the coaching staff. You see that stability with retaining players and so on and so forth. Stanford, they're still Stanford. Don't get me wrong. They're still P4. It is interesting to see it jump so much. Maybe, I don't know, people put that much, maybe 2 points is they're riding on Pefele Ashlock not being available. I don't know. But yeah, seeing this line now, odds via BetMGM is that Stanford, the 5.5-point favorite over Hawaii, coming up this Saturday. Again, 1:00 p.m. Hawaii time. Let's see, you got about 61% of the bets on the spread and 83% of the bets Stanford money line. Hawaii, by the way, on the money line, plus 180. Salt Bay. Stanford minus 220. There you go on the money line. Let's see. Let's look at the total. Total set at 48.5 is what it is right now. Should we do our first one? Should we do our first one of the season? I think I got to do the first one of the season. Hawaii and the over. Let's go. Our first call of the season. Hawaii and the over. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's game week. It's the first day of us really talking about game week with Stanford. So, of course, we got to go Hawaii and the over. Again, Hawaii plus 5.5 points, and over the 48.5 total. And honestly, I think the 48.5, because as we will hear from Dennis Thurman in just a little bit, right? Like, a lot of the defense, some of the guys getting starts for the first time, as there was a lot of veteran leadership before, but they were lost due to graduation. Now you get a lot of guys, and Dennis Thurman will kind of talk about how we don't know how they're going to react when they're actually in the game. Practice and practice and game time and game reps are entirely different. But at the same time, this offense just gives me so much confidence that it'll feel like, all right, maybe the defense might take a little while to kind of get used to the things, but I feel like we can count on this offense to just score more or to keep scoring and to be able to continue to figure it out, especially Micah Alejado, knock on wood, being 100% healthy. If he's healthy, we're cooking. We're cooking, guys.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the confidence that I have in Hawaiʻi this season greatly leans on the shoulders of Micah Alejado, because I do believe that he gives them the chance to win literally every single football game that they're going to play in this season. That includes the Stanford game, that includes the Arizona State game, all the way through. He is a big reason why they have an opportunity in every single one of these games. I'll sit here and I'll say this, by the way. It's funny because I've been going back and forth on this game because I'm trying not to underestimate Stanford, because at the end of the day, they are a P4 opponent. We saw last year that even in a season that they weren't necessarily all that good, they still have P4 size. They have plenty of good players. I like the coach that they brought in. I think that we have seen before it takes a little bit to get your program going whenever you are a new coach coming on in. I'm curious how this is in week 0, because I don't know, last year was a disaster for Hawaiʻi in the way that they started. And if you take that and it's like, all right, if Hawaiʻi doesn't have self-inflicted errors in terms of a fair catch at the 2-yard line on the first, opening drive of the season into a sack or a fumble, strip sack for a touchdown, and giving up a field goal, like, it was 10-0 before we even sat down in our seats last year. If they can avoid that, one, they have to avoid that on the road, I will say. You cannot give life to Stanford in the early going in this game. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's interesting. 5.5. I don't know. What has Stanford done necessarily to prove that they deserve almost a touchdown of benefit? That's my question, really, because we're coming off a year that Hawaiʻi beat them. I understand they're switching spots from where the game is played in Hawaiʻi last year, now being played on the continent. Mm-hmm. That's what, 2 points, 3 points typically? Okay. On top of that as well, like, I don't know, I really like what Hawaiʻi has done. They just are building on top of what they already had, and maybe it's because of the old school mindset that I have. The ability to retain and build on top of the foundation, I just feel a lot better than a program that is very new. Mm-hmm. And once again, this is not to disparage Stanford. They are a quality program, one that I think will reach pretty good heights once again under Tavita Pritchard. But I don't know. Part of my belief in Hawaiʻi this year is built on the fact that they're going to come out and they're going to show that last year was not a fluke. You got to do that. It beat Stanford.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I mentioned how players have to get acclimated to game reps, where I think I said this before, where if Hawaiʻi was playing Stanford a little later in the season, I'd have a little bit of a worry. Yeah, but because it's the beginning, it's literally Pritchard's first collegiate game as a head coach. You could be like figuring stuff out as you go as well. And then offensively, you're coaching against Dennis Thurman, right? Like a guy with all of this experience from all levels of football. So, and then of course, all of the other coaches as well. But Davis Warren, their starting quarterback for the Cardinal, came over from Michigan. Decent, let's see, in 2024 had just under 2,000 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in 9 starts. So they definitely have a talent back there when it comes to our defense trying to defend this Cardinal offense. And then I think with the spread, maybe it is just the lack of, I guess, when other people are looking at the talent on paper, right, they see there is no, say, like a Jackson Harris, right? Like that's someone that you lost.
But Jackson Harris wasn't Jackson Harris at that point last year.
Exactly. But then you're losing all of this quote unquote talent and the stability. So maybe other people are looking at it like this. But then on the flip side, that's where us here in Hawaiʻi, we're just more confident in the fact that as long as Micah Alejado is healthy, that connection kept growing throughout fall camp with all of the new receivers / the veteran or receivers that have been here but have been getting more of those significant reps throughout fall camp, and they started to look good. And we talked about it before that they are spreading the ball out. You really don't know who it's going to get. We'll actually play the snippet here where we got a chance to catch up with wide receivers coach and pass game coordinator Jared Ursua, because I mean, I kind of asked him, like, okay, what can, some of the receivers that stood out? And then he just lists off a bunch of names, similar to Paul and I talking about it last week, Monday, after Saturday's practice, where we're like, it's everybody at this point.
Yeah.
There's and even though someone is a starter, considering the depth they have at wide receiver, both out wide and in the slot, you're just going to keep switching out guys. As long as you have Micah Alejado there, and as long as that offensive line stays healthy, I know that's asking a lot, but at least this is game one where we have everybody healthy to start things off, and then we will see how it goes. But let's let you guys hear now the snippet from our brief conversation that Paul and I had with receivers coach and pass game coordinator Jared Ursua.
Yeah, it's been a great camp. The maturity of the guys has been what I've probably been most pleased with. They made my job really tough to know which 11 deserve to be on the field at a time. But I think no matter which combination we go with, they're going to be ready. Whether that's the transfers or the guys that we rolled over from last season, we've got a good group of guys that are ready to go out and make some plays.
Yeah, what can you say about the connection now that Micah Alejado and even Bjorn Jorgensen has developed with some of the guys that seem to be working in regularly to this rotation?
It's all about rhythm and timing, and you can see that they kind of know how each person runs. They kind of understand what movement patterns these guys have, and so whether it's with the outside guys where we got to connect on certain things, or whether it's some of the inside guys and working in small spaces, Micah and Bjorn have done a great job in kind of finding these guys and understanding how each of them are unique and great playmakers. I've loved how Carson Brown and Devin and Trey and Josiah Fetui on the outside have finished up camp. We got to be explosive. We got to be willing to challenge people, and they've done a really good job of creating explosives. And then on the inside, you got Tama Blaze, Audie, Kai, Titan, and Koa that really just there's not one job neither and any of them can't do, and that's a lot of names, but that's really what we've seen is that there's a handful of guys that can get the job done, and so we're going to challenge people, and that's our job. We got to get out there and we got to challenge them and compete every Saturday.
And I don't know if this question might be a little too early, but we are in game week for Stanford, so as much as you maybe know up to this point on what their defense poses for your guys.
Well, we faced them. Some of them as far back as 2023, and so we're really familiar with their group. Obviously, it's Stanford, so they're bright and they're smart, and they can throw a lot of things at you, and that's kind of what they pride themselves in being a tough physical unit. As the year went along, after our game last year, they improved and played really good football. They've got some new coaches in there that I think are going to build some NFL DNA, and they're going to force us to win one-on-ones, and we're excited for that matchup. And so as you watch them on tape, there's a lot of things that we see, but there's a new staff, and so each staff kind of impacts each roster a little bit differently, so it should be interesting.
Coach, there have been a couple of injuries throughout camp with wide receivers. How have you seen them still being interactive in practice, and how have they stayed involved even with some of the guys throughout?
So I heard your question, but really all I hear is I love Kuʻulei Ashlock, and I can't wait to get him back. He has done an excellent job in being a support and a coach and a leader, but we love Five, and we can't wait to get him back. And the timeline is just moving up sooner and sooner and sooner because of his diligence in doing that. But just watching him grow is what I feel a lot of times when I watch him on the sideline. I just think of a guy who 4 years ago was just this young pup who came here totally unknown to the island and has fallen in love with not just the university, but being here and being a Rainbow Warrior.
And that was University of Hawaii football pass game coordinator and wide receivers coach Jared Ursua. Just a little bit of what he had to tell Paul and I following practice on Saturday as they're gearing up for game week. So as I mentioned, he just kind of said a bunch of names there that have impressed and really came to their own during fall camp. So once again, I mean, that's why I'm curious though, when we see the depth chart come out, which should be today or tomorrow. Those are one of those positions where you're just like, well, you have the guys that are listed as starters, but you can anticipate that there will be a lot of action for the other guys that are listed on the depth chart as well. Pretty much the only like for sure starters and will stay in the game would be like your offensive linemen, and then Micah Alejado, obviously. Running backs, I'm actually really interested to see how they split the time and what they do with Cam Barfield and Devon Rice, because both of them looked awesome in practice. So that's kind of what I'm really looking forward to. Yes, to see this new set of wide receivers, but also what they do with running backs. Because we've talked about this before, Paul, where it is interesting to see on how they would replace kind of like the do-all back in Landon Sims. But at the same time, now it seems like from a pure running back standpoint, they have a little bit more firepower, not to mention Sitani Mikaele, who had some moments during practices as well. So that's probably the biggest question mark / excitement that I have and curious about. So to when it comes to game time, like how they are managing that. And I'm so like excited and looking forward to see what RC has cooked up for the running back position.
I got to imagine it's pretty fun for the offensive coaching staff to kind of go into their meetings and kind of go home and think about, man, I got a lot of different weapons who can do a lot of different things. Because, yeah, I mean, JU, he goes through a plethora of names there, and most people might roll your eyes at that, but Hawaii, if you've watched Hawaii, especially last year or even past 2 years, Hawaii does a very nice job of spreading the ball out offensively, where, yeah, you do mention a bunch of names because, I mean, you have 7, 8 guys who get an opportunity to make a play, 2 plays, 3 plays per game. And that's part of what makes the offense so dangerous. You also bring up the running attack. I'm excited about the running attack this year. I liked Landon Sims as a person, as a player, whatever. I like the build of Devon Rice and Cam Barfield in terms of what you're getting out of a running back a bit more. I do understand you need the pass protection, and that's why I loved Landon Sims, because he did the dirty work. But I also, I don't know, you sit here and you look across the way, Stanford has a very, very good running back in Micah Ford, and being able to control the ground game on top of still having a great passing attack, it really is a big thing. And also, these are 2 backs who have explosive ability, not just running the ball, but in the passing game as well, where we saw last year a couple of times Landon Sims would get a little shovel pass, little screen here or there, and it's like a 15, 20-yard gain because he's a big bruising back. You look at Cam Barfield, you look at Devon Rice, and you get the ball to them in some space, and sometimes that can turn into a touchdown. You know, that's all of a sudden an explosive rather than just a decent gain. And listen, once again, I am nobody who is going to turn my nose up to a good gain and to picking up a first down, but explosives change games. And they have, at the very least, 2 backs now who are explosive, who can break one off for a 65-yard touchdown here because they get enough of a hole, and then they can turn up the gears and go to another level. I'm excited about that, on top of the fact that, yeah, the wide receiver room, even without Pefele Ashlock fully healthy yet, I mean, you go down the list and you feel like, here, I'll ask you a question. Like, how much have we talked about Audric Harris during this camp?
I know, it's weird.
Practically none, right? And it's not because he doesn't make plays. It's not because he doesn't get opportunities here and there. It's just because there are so many different guys who are making plays, making themselves known, that it's like, you can't talk about all of them. you run out of characters, you know?
All right, let's move over to special teams now. Something that I know a lot of fans, and in just a moment you'll hear my quick chat with Thomas Sheffield, the special teams coordinator, where, right, a lot of fans, it's now you got to get used. It's so weird because it feels like Kansei. I mean, I know Kansei was part of the program for more than one season, but it feels like he like captivated the fan base because of all the incredible things and records that he did last year, that it almost feels like he's been the starting kicker for like at least 3 years, right? Because he was so beloved, deservedly so, that they loved him, right? Because of all that he did, right? And his story is just like, you can't help but fall in love with his story. But now, unfortunately, sorry, I'm just thinking how we were like 5th year Kansei.
Everybody else is doing it.
Corruption is bad, but if
corruption is bad
is good.
if I am not involved. But if I am involved, I will defend it. Bring back
Perfect,
Kansei.
perfect.
Bring back Kansei.
After Paul and I went on our whole rant about like, if you went to the NFL, you shouldn't come back unless you're Kansei Matsuzawa.
Listen, at this point, now a precedent has been set with the Daquan Wright guy
Yeah.
going from the Browns to LSU once he passed. Listen. Once the precedent has been set, who am I? Who am I to turn the nose?
No, in all seriousness, though, I just totally derailed my point I was trying to make. Just because that's what I think about. It's like corruption's bad because I saw it circulating again because of the whole thing, that whole meme. But the point is that now they do have to move on. This isn't 2025 anymore. There is a new starting kicker in Sean Alvaro Harley. And then even the fan base, right, just has to come out and support. And here is, just my overall quick chat with Thomas Sheffield, just kind of asking about just his overall thoughts of this fall camp with special teams now that it feels like almost brand new. You have Jack Mowry. Jack Mowry is the stability there for the special teams unit. And of course, Thomas Sheffield, but here he is.
All right, Coach Chef, just overall now, last Saturday before game day, though, how are you feeling about your unit?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel confident in what they're able to do. We just got to continue to put them in good situations to be successful, especially early on with the new group. They're a young group, they're an inexperienced group, but I believe that, with the proper coaching, the proper situations, they're going to be just fine.
And what can you say about your place kicker now? I mean, he has big shoes to fill, especially amongst the fan base, but what do you want to let the fans know about Kansei Matsuzawa's replacement, essentially?
Yeah, it'll be Sean, but I just want the fans and everybody to let Sean write his own story. What Kansei did for us was so special, and what he was able to do last year and the records that he broke and becoming the first consensus, unanimous, All-American, whatever it is. That was a really special year, but that was 2025, and now it's 2026, and we're going to let Sean write his own story, and I have full faith in Sean. I think that Sean is a very rare and special talent. He definitely has an NFL leg. We just got to continue to work on the consistency of putting the ball through the uprights, and if he can do that, he's going to have a special year as well.
Right. I don't know if this might be too early to ask this question, but we are technically going into game week now of Stanford. What can you say about this upcoming matchup for special teams?
Yeah, I mean, the coach does a really good job. He's coming from Kansas State and does an unbelievable job. Gives his guys to play fast and physical. Really excited about the matchup. I think it's going to be one of those deals where just the little things, the little details are what's going to make the difference on special teams. And so we're going to prepare our kids for the physicality. We're going to prepare them for the speed. But we got to get them ready for all the little details and situations that are going to come up throughout that game.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that was Hawaii football. I was like, blah, 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 blah. That was Hawaii football special teams coordinator Thomas Sheffield and what he had to tell me following Saturday's practice. Again, almost an entirely new unit. I would say this is my biggest question mark because we've seen what Coach Sheffield has done with these special teams throughout his tenure here. And like every year, I feel like, aside from maybe the first year, but everything was still being figured out in the first year, you saw like this major improvement. You saw these big time recruits come in. I mean, to remind everyone, Billy Gowers, who was recruited by Thomas Sheffield, got poached by the defending national champions, right? Yeah. So the talent is there, and they've been able to do this. I mean, Jack Mowry, he loves it so much here in Hawaii. He was at James Madison, and like he doesn't regret it one bit for missing out on like going to the college football playoff because he loves playing here. So the culture that they've built.
I love Jack, by the way.
Oh, Jack is like the best.
Like just as a
we need to get him
being,
on just like a podcast version of some kind of interview.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He rocks. Anyway,
but he's the only one that is the stability, right? They're replacing every facet of
holder, punter, kicker.
Yeah, and let me rephrase because special teams encompasses like a lot of other positions.
Yes,
but those the direct line from like the kicking position because, and I bring that up more so. Yes, you do need to make tackles at least when you're on defense for special teams. Obviously, you don't want to give up any free touchdowns or anything like that or good field position. But special teams, as we saw with the game last year against Stanford.
It's important.
Hawaii loses that game if it wasn't for that walk-off field goal. So it's been significant. It's proven to be significant. Billy Gowers put the ball in incredible position, pin back the opponents that Hawaii would have to play. So yeah, the biggest question mark, just because there is so much so much new faces and they have to work on those connections. probably the most curious and biggest question mark I have. And again, not necessarily that I don't believe in Coach Chef and what this coaching staff can do.
Chef can't go out there.
But just like which we'll hear again in just a little bit, what Dennis Thurman said, is like practice reps are different from game reps, and these guys do not have game reps yet. So this will be a big deal. Fortunately, I go back to the offense. The offense will hopefully continue to score touchdowns, or at least get the ball close enough that in chipping position where it should be relatively less difficult. Not easy, but less difficult than having to try to hit anything like over 35 yards.
Yeah, I am curious about special teams this year just because it's so volatile year over year, not just here, but literally everywhere. And that's why I kind of make the tongue-in-cheek joke, not even joke, but like, Chef can't go out there and kick for him. We have seen that Chef knows what the hell he's doing. I mean, Kansei doesn't go from 12 out of 16 in his junior year to a first team unanimous All-American, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Like,
Lou grows a snub.
But like you get what I'm saying there, and you know he takes Billy Gowers and the talent there. At some point, it is on the players to make the plays. So, like you said, when the bullets are actually flying, when you get into the actual game, that's when we will see how these young men are able to do. Because we've seen throughout camp, Sean Oliveira Harley, he's got a hell of a leg. He hit one from I think 60 yards at one point during camp. Like he has the leg, but with kicking, as we've seen across the country, it's not about how far you can kick it. It is about how many times you can put it between the uprights. And that's what made Kansei so valuable last year. It wasn't that Hawaiʻi was stealing points from 55 yards out on so many different occasions. It was that when the drive stalled from the 25-yard line and it's 4th and long and like, it's not really worth going for it, you could look to the sideline and you're like, all right, we can take the 3 here. That is a big, big thing that I hope fans didn't take for granted last year, and I hope that can continue this year because, as we keep saying, it's different when games start going. It's been nice to see him hit kicks in practice. What happens when guys are actually diving at his legs and diving at the ball, and he's trying to have the same timing as it is? That's what I'm curious about. Punting, you have 2 freshmen at this point who are competing for that job, it seems like, both of whom who are talented, but both of whom are freshmen. I talk about the holding. That's something else where who takes over the holding job. That's something that Caleb Freeman did exceptionally well last year. Like the entire operation has to work well so that special teams can be special for you. I am curious this year how much more dynamic the return game can be, and I wonder if that is somewhere that they can make up for any regressions in the punting and the kicking. Listen, this isn't even an indictment on the guys who are here. When you have multiple All-Americans in your special teams, because Billy was freshman All-America, wasn't he?
Something like that.
So it's like you have multiple All-American level players exiting from your room. You're going to have a regression like that. I want to tell fans right now, regardless of what you're expecting, there will be a regression. It's just it's life. That's okay. How much can you avoid that regression, and how much can you make up for it on other margins? Because we've talked about, like Cam Barfield is a solid returner. He had a kick return for a touchdown last year. We're excited about what Kai Carvalho could do. Talked about Tama Uliata, where as the season went on last year, he started to get a few more opportunities to return punts rather than just the fair catch. Do we see that same idea come back this year where they just are trying to hit singles in the special teams game? So those are the question marks. And yeah, I agree with you. In my opinion, the biggest question mark on this team is special teams, just because there are so many impact players that are gone that you needed to replace and that you needed to now see what they can do in real game action. Because offensively, we talked about it. You have Micah, and Micah's going to kind of make sure that everybody else falls in line. Plus, you got pretty good depth elsewhere there. Defensively, we'll get into this as well, but DT gives me a lot of confidence in the fact that even if they're not operating at their top level yet, they're at least going to be prepared and they are going to know what is coming. If they make the plays, that's a different story. We'll see. That's why they play the game on the gridiron. But nonetheless, like those are the reasons why I'm like, all right, special teams is the one that I probably have the most like, where is it going to land compared to last year?
And I think that's fair for you to point out that there is likely to be some type of regression, and that last year was
so
special.
Unfair to
right?
think, hey, you should come in and be an All-American after not playing last year.
We should not miss any field goals once again. Like, Sean, don't miss anything whatsoever, right? Like, that's just not realistic. That's why Kansei was talked about so much, is because he made just about everything. And Billy Gowers, that's why he got poached to go to Indiana, is because he was that good. But biggest question mark. Also, I guess similarly, not as big of a question mark because there is still a lot of veterans on that side of the football, but there's still also a lot of depth. Like, I'm really interested to see who gets worked in the most when it comes to the linebacking core, because we've kind of seen some guys stand out in camp, and I know it's camp, but I do like with the talent and what steps we've seen with the linebackers, because you have Jemai Otis, but you do got to replace someone in Jalen Smith, right? They were the 1-2 punch, and I know Jemai got injured during a UNLV season or that game last year, but also just some of the talent, and you see Wyndon Ho'ohuli on there, and it's so weird because it's like we always bring up Scoob, and it's so rare for say like
I love
a freshman to get in there and try to and take one of those spots, but man, has he looked good in camp that I just can't help but always just watch him at these practices. So I am curious to see where that goes. And then obviously the secondary will be something that is almost like a new look secondary. A lot of veterans, right, that we have seen depart essentially because of graduation. But before we get into a little bit more about the defense, want to let you guys hear what Dennis Thurman had to tell the media following Saturday's practice. And here it is.
Well, I mean, the most important thing is for us to understand who our opponent is. And I believe by kickoff on the 29th, we'll have a pretty good understanding of them, who they are, and what they like. They're a new team also. They have new coordinator, new guy calling plays. But Stanford is going to be Stanford. Played against them myself years and years ago. Coached against them when I was at USC. So it's nothing new. They're Stanford. They're gonna be a well-coached, well-disciplined football team, and they're gonna do what they do. And they're gonna just outplay you, try to outplay you, and they're not gonna make mistakes. So we can't go in there and make mistakes and think we'll win.
I think 4 of their 5 offensive linemen are back, so you've seen these guys a year ago, so you kind of know what to expect, at least on the front.
Well, yeah, I mean, revenge is in their mind. You know what I'm saying? And they won it. We know that. They came in here and didn't think that we had a chance to win the game. But this is a brand new season, so can't worry about what took place last year. We got to go up there ready to go and play a good football game, respectable football game. Do what we're capable of doing, and we'll see what happens.
You guys closed camp last week and you kind of started going into Stanford prep, and I didn't get a chance to ask you when you closed camp, but what was your kind of overall assessment of the defensive unit and how they showed out for this fall camp?
Young, inexperienced, don't have game reps. Game reps and practice reps are so different. And what you see a guy do in practice, he may not, who knows how he's going to react once the bullets get live and he's out there and his coach can't be on the field with him. He's out there all alone for the first time in his life in a college football game. I don't know how he's going to react. We'll all find out. But I'm hopeful that, the training, the discipline, the detail of their jobs and their assignments are all inside. And once they get, through the initial butterflies or what have you, they'll go out and do what they're supposed to do.
Now that it is game week, what are you hoping to see most out of your defense on game day?
Do their job. They do their job, and they do it full speed, no hesitation. And I'm okay, really, right now, if they make a mistake. Just do it full speed. And if you do it full speed, we have a chance, because we can correct the mistakes. But your effort, not effort. You either have that or you don't. And probably if you don't play with a lot of effort and energy, you're probably not going to be on the field. So I'm not really worried about that part.
Coach, what do you think the hardest position is to play in football?
All of them, and I don't mean that facetiously. There's an assignment that every man has to go out and accomplish and compete, and you're doing it against another man who is trying to prevent you from doing what you're supposed to do. So it's always a one-on-one battle of some sorts. And so to go out there and say one job is tougher than the other, I'm not going to say that, because I believe all 11 guys that are out there have a tough job. And the guys that can get it done more than the other, those are the guys who play.
And that was University of Hawaii football defensive coordinator Dennis Thurman. Good answer there. I was like, I like that. I wasn't expecting a question like that from Christian, but I love the answer by Dennis Thurman. Is just like all of the positions are difficult, and it's true, right? Like every position in football, because yes, you're going out there, you're on an island by yourself sometimes, and you have to, like, if you're on offense, you have to know all the plays. If you're on defense, you got to make sure you know the plays that are potentially coming on the other side, and like be able to do all of this stuff. I mean, I think the overall, it's been said that probably corner is like the most difficult position to play in football, just because you're always like, it's
I
a
have
lot.
to imagine that's probably why Christian asked that question.
Just to see if it was going to be a defensive thing that he was saying.
Because DT was a DB.
Yeah.
So it just seems right. I think the same thing. Anyway, sorry.
No. But yes, like you guys I mentioned earlier, that Dennis Thurman, though, you heard him say that too, is like, we got to just see what these guys can do when they are in there with the game reps. And I go back to what I said earlier in this talk about football. That's the same way that goes for Tavita Pritchard, the head coach on the Stanford side, and the coaching staff, right? Like, even though they've coached before, Coach a head coach, this is his first game at the helm, and you're coaching against someone that coaches defense like Dennis Thurman, and then offensively you're going up against a very potent offense. You don't know what, it's not a traditional run and shoot, it's like a run, shoot, and plus, like, you just don't know. And then you have this dynamic quarterback in Micah Alejado that almost does not look like he should be as good as he is, but he is. And so it's either way for Hawaii's defense. Yes, I believe maybe there could be some figuring out process in the first game, but at the same time, Dennis Thurman and this coaching staff, I feel like they at least are doing everything they need to do to get people prepared. I've seen Coach Thurman really coach situational football before, even down to even down to the batting the ball out of bounds, like say it's a Hail Mary into the end zone, like depending on where you're defending in the end zone, don't try to catch it. That is like the mistake. It's like, and I think at that time when I saw Coach DT in that play happening, I think the defender tried to catch it, and then obviously that causes potential other issues, and then he went there and is like, do this, and I saw him like trying to show them. So all of those little things you can trust are being covered situationally by Dennis Thurman and by this defensive coaching staff. Now it's up to the players to go out there and perform on Saturday.
Yeah, I think similar to the special teams, I understand if fans have question marks about the defense, because there were some impact players that ultimately graduated and left after last season. And going into week 0 against Stanford, when you go against a P4 opponent, you're more than likely going to go against players who are bigger than you. So I do think that it's fair to have some question marks there about how they're going to be able to compete. But I also, to echo your point, the thing, you can't really teach size. Like, you can try and get bigger, you can do the off-season strength program and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, your God-given ability and your God-given body are what you got. But you can teach situational football. You can teach preparation. You can be over-prepared and make sure that you are ready to go, because those are the margins that help make up for those physical disadvantages that you may have against a P4. I am curious how the defensive line is going to be able to hold up against Stanford's offensive line. Historically, Stanford has always had a great offensive line, just continuously bringing in big prospects, like not just like strong, but literal mountains of men. So I am curious about, can we see, because that's something that we saw last year where the defensive line for Hawaii, even undersized, albeit at times, they were productive. They were able to get home against opponents, whether it was Jackie Johnson III, who he is the prototype of a undersized edge rusher, and it just didn't matter because his attitude, his effort, his attention to detail was so good. how's the defensive tackles, or how do the interior defensive linemen look this year? Can Luther McCoy take another step forward and be the leader of that defense? Which of the guys that they brought in this offseason, which of them are able to take command and really fill up the gaps there? Can we see Kaeo Akana take a step forward?
Ooh, yeah,
somebody who we have seen in the past be, unbelievably talented, one of the top prospects in the state when he was graduating out of high school, and ultimately some injuries have derailed him on the way. He's somebody who I talk about, the talent is there along with the size. Can he stay healthy? Can he produce for you? And then the question for me is, what does the defensive backfield look like? The corners, you don't have Sibo right now. You have Jalen Edmond, who is a new name, who has come in and he's been a pretty good talk, right? You have Kona Moore, who has been a really, really solid player, but dealt with injuries all throughout his college career. Can he stay healthy and finally put together the type of season that a lot of people believe that he can? Motongi Thompson, he is one of the few returners and a guy who really started to come on in the final weeks of the season last year. Is he able to build on top of that and be the next safety with the long flowing Polynesian hair?
Yeah.
Those are the question marks I have. You'll notice I didn't bring up the linebackers because that is the group that I am probably the most confident in right now, similar to you, because you have Jemai Otis, who I understand is coming off of injury still. You're a little bit curious. I wonder how much they will lean into him early on, or if they will try and use the depth that it seems that they have in the linebacker room. But I really like what they have in there because they have different types of players. Wyndon Ho'ohuli isn't necessarily this little small linebacker who's speedy, goes sideline to side. He's a bigger, beefier guy who he's going to inflict some pain in the gaps when he's able to fill a gap here and there. I'm curious about, you bring up Isaiah Scoob Pongofie, who as a redshirt, you can tell that he took his redshirt year very, very seriously. Because all throughout camp, it looks like he is somebody who really wants that job. Mateus Ioane from Lelehua, baby.
Hey.
I've talked about him before. CB's talked about him. Do you see Ben Hudson, who, by the way, transferred in from Stanford? Is he able to step in and have an impact in week 0 against his old program, a la Jackson Harris, like we saw last year, just on the defensive side of the ball? Those are the questions I have, but for the actual defense itself, the linebacking core, I'm most excited about because you have options. You can play different ways. You have depth in there. The defensive line, I'm curious about how many of them are able to be productive right away. There's talent, but talent and production are two separate things. And that's what I'm curious about there.
Yeah, so game week, guys. We are here. All right, before we take a break and close out hour number 1, I did want to kind of go back and look at Phil Steele's college football preview when it pertains to the Stanford side of things in the ACC. Stanford predicted by Phil Steele to be 16th in the ACC, just ahead of Boston College. Take that how you must. But when you look at his unit ranking for Stanford, they are last in quarterbacks, 12th in running backs. Again, let's see, 16th in receivers, offensive line, he gives them a 10, defensive line 10, linebacking 7, DB 16, special teams 9, and coaching 16. Again, a lot of that has to deal with the youth of the coaching staff in terms of just years coached in their particular positions. And so it is interesting. And once again, this is comparing it to the ACC. So you're talking about Miami. That's obviously who is going to be at the top of everything. Miami, SMU, Clemson, just to remind everyone who is having trouble keeping up with all of the different conference realignment stuff. So those are kind of the teams that are in the ACC at the top part, just to put it in perspective on where Stanford stacks up in that very top-heavy conference with the ACC. But when you look at Phil Steele's 2026 preseason ACC team, I don't actually see any Stanford players. Once again, I understand this is against You see a bunch of first and second teamers from Miami, from Duke, SMU, but you would think maybe they can get somebody. I only see maybe 2 players as a quick glance here. You have Jay Green, a state safety for Stanford on the 4th team, and Caden High, who is their kick returner for Stanford. That's on the 4th team as well. That is just a quick glance on the 2 players that made Phil Steele's preseason ACC team. Once again, this isn't a Mountain West type of conference that they're competing against the players. You have the runner-up national
You also have
champions
17
there.
teams in the
Exactly.
conference.
But once again, you see the top riddled with Miami, Clemson, Virginia Tech. Louisville even, so that's what you gotta do.
Man.
Yeah, so in another word to say, it's pretty even when it comes to, even though Stanford's at the bottom of their conference, Hawaii's at the top of their conference, at least according to a lot of preseason polls, except for the actual Mountain West poll because they didn't release one, but everyone else. But there has been, despite what the line says, there is a lot of high expectation when it comes to Hawai'i still, how they can compete in this conference by a lot of like polls from everywhere, national media. There is a lot of confidence with this Hawai'i team. But once again, as it stands right now, Hawai'i is starting off game week as the 5.5 point underdog to Stanford, and the total set at 48.5. Game time is set for 1:00 p.m. Hawai'i time on the ACC network. All right. Speaking of lines, when we come back, we are going to bring it back. Paul's Parlor. We will get into that conversation. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it is basically where Paul kind of looks at the collective stats from last season and how Hawai'i has fared. He was pretty spot on last year, actually.
Beginner's luck.
We will come back and get you and have some fun with the Paul's Parlor and let you know what the season total lines are set and let you know how you guys can play along with us as well. So we'll be right back for hour number 2 on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, streaming 24/7 at hawaiisportsradio.com and on the new Hawai'i Sports Radio app.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. I'm Kuʻulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht on the Hawaiʻi Sports Radio Network, streaming on hawaiisportsradio.com, the Hawaiʻi Sports Radio Network app, and live on our YouTube channel. Mahalo for tuning in live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all platforms, on audio stream, and of course on our YouTube from 8 to 10 a.m. We appreciate all of you guys that do, and for all of you that hang out with us, and especially now that we are officially in college football season. Week 0, baby. Let's go. So hour number 1, we spent just talking about University of Hawaiʻi football. We let you guys hear from Jared Ursua, the pass game coordinator and wide receivers coach, Dennis Thurman, the defensive coordinator, and Thomas Sheffield, the special teams coordinator, and what they had to say following Saturday's practice. So again, if you're just tuning in, go back and listen on demand when you get a chance, or watch on demand as well. We'll also have the actual video versions for you later today. So if you want to wait to actually like see themselves, I guess some people like that, or some people will just watch it and listen again.
No,
I get it, right? They want to see their faces more than just the still shot. So be sure you guys like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you know not only when we go live, but also when we have a lot of this football content, in addition to all of the other University of Hawaiʻi sports content and high school sports content that we've been posting for you. There's a lot of stuff for high school football, which we will get to a little later in this hour. Shout out to our Micah Alejado, who has been all over the place when it comes to high school football coverage. So check that out again on our social media or via our YouTube channel. Not right now if you're live though. You will stick here obviously, but
it'll still be there after the show.
Yes,
don't
just
worry.
letting you guys know. And thank you guys for hanging out with us. Feel free to text in at 808-888-5481, or you can chime in on the YouTube chat. Shout out to Caesar, who has been in there asking when my birthday is again. It is next week.
Crazy. I know a great gift that Hawaii football could give you.
Oh yeah.
A real nice
I
gift.
will be in attendance for that Stanford game, by the way. So that would be nice, guys.
I got a feeling that would go a long way for your birthday.
It would very much. You know what? I'm glad you pointed that out. Yes, that would. I mean, I don't. I mean, 2 birthday presents and win next week Saturday too.
I have multiple ideas. They could beat UNLV after beating Stanford and really make your birthday great.
Thank you very much. That would be amazing. Man. All right. Before we get into Paul's Parlor, I did want to make sure we at least mention this and give a shout out to the Rainbow Wahine soccer team. Woo! Coming out with their first win of the season. Let's go. A 2-0 shutout over Idaho. So shout out to the Rainbow Wahine with goals by Anu Luli and the freshman phenom so far, Olivia Deanda. But taking a look at the box score, that's where I'm like, this is soccer. And all you need to do is take advantage of the opportunities when the opportunities are given to you, because man, Idaho, when you look at the sheet, they outshot Hawaii 17-7, 6-4 with on frame. Kennedy Justin is making 6 saves in that shutout. Idaho more corners, 6-2. There you go. There you go, Paul. Your favorite stat.
You knew where I was gonna go.
14-5 in the foul count. Hawaii to Idaho.
We're not getting the word, you know. Listen, that's my favorite part about this team is they're not going to get punked, at least for the most part. Every once in a while, you know. But no, this was an awesome performance in terms of bouncing back after 3 really tough outings to begin the year in different ways. Obviously, whether it was going against the elements, going against the top 25 squad, or going against the team that should win their conference this year. This was another challenge. Coach Bud talked about it in the post game on K5, where she's got a lot of respect for the Idaho program. They always compete in the Big Sky for the championship. They knew this wasn't going to be an easy match by any stretch, but they put together a cohesive 90 minutes of soccer, which is nice, where defensively, yes, they gave up 17 shots, sure. Shots can sometimes be a little misleading because I like to look at shots on frame, shots on goal, and that's where, 6-4, whatever. Hawaii made big on their opportunities, 2 for 4 on their opportunities there. I also, by the way, didn't realize Olivia Deonda follows me back on Twitter. So that right
nice.
there, I should have known she was in for a star freshman season immediately right there. But no, this was a great performance and what you wanted to see to get back on track against a quality Idaho program. You know, I know that I say it all the time, winning is important, but for multiple different reasons. It's important for your psyche too, because if you keep on this losing streak where it's like 1-0 loss or 3-1 loss or whatever it may be, it's like, dude, what is going on? What is something wrong with us? Whatever it is, first multi-goal game of the season, first clean sheet of the season, coming on the same day. That's a liftoff point in my mind for the Rainbow Wahine soccer, and a good one before they hit the rest of their schedule and before they really get into their conference schedule as well. Next up for them, by the way, against our friends over at HPU.
Yeah, that game against HPU is actually this Saturday. So those of you close by campus, you know, after the Hawaii football game, you can go mosey on over to campus. That game at 4:00 p.m. In the lower campus field. Again, Hawaii football at 1:00 p.m. is the kickoff on ACC Network. All right, let's get back over to University of Hawaii football, but more so on this like fun side that we used to have. We'll talk some Paul's Parlor. Again, if you're just tuning in and you want to get our first game week discussion about Hawaii football, hearing from Jared Ursua, Dennis Thurman, and Coach Sheffield. You guys can go back and watch on demand a little later or listen on demand when that's up on our podcast platforms, because I know a lot of people are very curious about getting themselves hyped up as much as we are for UH football kickoff this Saturday. But we're going to go on the fun side of stuff. This is something that we started last year called Paul's Parlor, in which Paul Brecht over here sets the futures lines for the season where it comes to all of the different props, and we will kind of go through it. I even had a little graphic there for Paul's Parlor. Paul's Parlor graphic just to make it fancy.
The parlor, the casino.
Yeah, so that is we're going to go through it now, and we'll give you the link to where you guys can also participate, because we do want to have it open, and we actually have the link itself in the chat right now. So if you want to take a look and start filling that out, you guys can send it over to us via a Google Doc. We'll also share it on other social media platforms as well. But if you want to participate in Paul's Parlor this season, go ahead and fill out the sheet. You can put your real name or whatever name, give a shout out. We'll mention things as we go on throughout the season, and whoever wins, well, you get an even bigger congratulations. It's all for funsies, right? So it's just fun to follow along, because when we recap last year, I always go back to that special teams prop with the over 50-yard field goal that did hit, but in my defense, and I will do it again this year because I can imagine that's on the prop sheet as well for Paul's Parlor, is that I will still go the under because of the belief that I have in this offense that they will get within the 50-yard mark, or I guess a little bit more, because where they will not even have to attempt a 50-yarder plus field goal, because this offense will just get close enough where we don't have to do that. But anyways, without further ado, Paul, let's start this off with Paul's Parlor.
Woo! I'm excited about this. This was fun to kind of put together. If you did this last year, appreciate you making it so that I thought I should do it again this year. 14 different categories that I put together for us this year. I've got some on the offense, some on the defense. I got a bunch for Micah Alejado. I've got a couple of special teams ones on there, and I've got a fun little chaos question right at the bottom. So we'll start here, and it's as simple as this with the Hawaii offense. Their points per game, Kuʻulei, at over under 28 points per game. That's 4 touchdowns per game, just so you are aware. I understand that is quite the line.
Ooh, that's aggressive.
It is aggressive, but I do want to remind you that last year this was a Hawaii team that scored over, I believe it was 26 points per game. That also came with Micah Alejado out for multiple games through this season, where they just didn't quite get things going. And also, I mean, I do understand it's aggressive, but we're talking about a championship team here, or one that we're thinking could be a championship team here, Kuʻulei. And that's kind of where I begin. Just for the record, last year, Hawaii averaged 29 points per game.
Oh. And like we said, that's without Micah Alejado. And once again, this is based on everyone staying healthy. So you know what? Now that I take a look back at the schedule as well, there are going to be some difficult games, right? Like when we talk about going on the road to Arizona State. But at the same time, when we look at a more favorable schedule for Hawaii, I think they'll still put up points against UNLV. Maybe not 30 burger, but it'll still be decent. But then you have teams like New Mexico State coming here. You have Northern Illinois on the road. But I think Hawaii, Northern Illinois just doesn't have a ton of expectation this year. But we will see. You have Sacramento State coming in, which I think could be kind of a blowout up until that point. Again, everyone remaining healthy. Nevada as well. Hawaii tends to do good on the road. So I think you'll have kind of that balance where against the teams that they should beat, they'll beat big or at least put up a lot of points. So yeah, let's go over in this one for the offense.
I like it. I will also be going over in this, but that's just because I think that this team's going to put up a lot of points this year. Hawaii, when you have great Hawaii football teams, it seems that their offense very much so leads them, and Micah and this group feel like the next in that line of, rain or whatever it may be. Last year, I set the line at 26.5 points per game, and obviously that was not aggressive enough. I just want to give that to the beautiful people. Then let's go over to the other side then, Kuʻulei. For Hawaii defense, their points allowed per game average over or under 24 points per game allowed. Now, last year, they allowed 24.1 points per game, hence why the line itself is at 24. Where are we at defensively? Where we've just talked about extensively, a lot of new faces on that side. Just to break it down for everyone, that's 3 touchdowns and a field goal. All right, 3 touchdowns and a field goal, or 3 touchdowns and 3 2-point conversions, I guess. 24 points per game, over or under allowed by the defense this year.
Ooh. I think this is a good line because I have to contemplate so much.
That is always my thought process, and that's always what I want. So
I feel like this will be just like hard-nosed football on Saturday, but then I did say Hawaii in the over, so meaning both teams have to score at least over 24 points average. You can tell I take this very seriously. Unlike Caesar, who's already done filling it out, apparently.
I mean, to be fair, Caesar doesn't have me droning on in his ear talking about every single line.
You know what? We're going to go with confidence heading into this season because I think as much as I still think there will be some growing pains at the beginning, I think that everything will start to get figured out and they won't have, say, like a performance that they did against San Jose State on the road, or they do play them here at home. This is going to, once again, more of the favorable schedule that they do have and the confidence that I have for UH to play elevated, especially defensively when they play here at home. So having a lot of the top opponents here at home when it comes to the Mountain West Conference, we're going to go under or barely. But yes, under.
I like it. Under. All right. Continuing on forward, we go to our Micah Alejado category of lines. And this one, this should probably help set where your expectations should go in general. We've talked a little bit about it. Micah Alejado, a little bit a smaller quarterback. We saw he went through some injuries last season, went through the entire offseason needing to kind of rehab, missed spring practices just so he would be 100% healthy. Over or under 10.5 games played for Micah Alejado this year.
Dang. Well, I got to get my positive Paul hat on, so over. We are going over on that one. That I think he's learned how to keep himself to make sure he stays healthy. At the same time, he is a gamer, so I'm like, I always have to close my eyes because he will run. He will run. Auntie coup, media coup, fan coup. It's like, no, stay healthy. But he's a baller. But I think the offensive line will do what they need to do to protect him. I think they, from what we've heard, like even though there's been some position movement, as long as the offensive line stays healthy, we need Mike Alejado to stay healthy. So we're going to keep positive Paul hat on and say over.
I like it. For reference, he played in 11 games last year. He wouldn't have gotten to 11 had he not played in the Hawaii Bowl, though. So just there's one keep in mind for everybody. Continuing on for Micah Alejado, how many passing yards this year? Because last year he eclipsed 3,000, but he needed that final game to do it. We talk about health. We talk about whatever it may be. Over or under 3,000 yards?
Over.
I think this one is might be the easiest one considering, and this is of course considering health. This might be the easiest one in my mind of all of the questions, just for the matter of I am a big believer that Micah is a productive quarterback when he is on the field, period. The sentence ends there. And if that's going to be the case, we're talking about under 300 yards per game that he needs. That is very, very doable in my mind. So I also say Micah goes over 3K through the air for the second straight year. No sophomore slump. I guess junior, so whatever it is now. Third year in college slump. But moving on, I mean, well, when you throw for a lot of yards, typically touchdowns come with that, right, Koo? Well, last year, let's see, I set this line at the exact same thing. 29.5 touchdown passes for Micah Alejado. Is he going to be the first quarterback since Cole McDonald at Hawaii to toss for 30 touchdown passes? Or is it going to be another year of a 30 touchdown passer drought? Because those Nick Rolovich teams that were competing for Mountain West titles, Cole McDonald was putting up some numbers in those. Over or under 29.5. Does he get to 30? Passing touchdowns, I should say.
How far off was he last year?
He only had 24 last year. Once again, he played in 11 games, was a little bit injured. Played in 11 games, but also missed a big portion of that Arizona game.
Yeah.
Was not fully healthy, clearly, for the Fresno State game. Are there more options for him this year? Do they go to the ground more this year? Does he get to 30 touchdowns? How potent of an offense do you think this is going to be, Kuʻulei?
Potent. But wait, what was it? 29?
29.5. Is he going to be the first quarterback since Cole McDonald to reach 30 or more? Because McDonald reached more.
It's like 28 is calling me, so it's just.
I get it. I get it. I wouldn't blame you, by the way, or anyone for taking the under on this.
Yeah.
Not because they don't believe in the Hawaii offense, but because they believe the points might be spread around a little bit more.
Are we counting? I guess we have to because it does count on this stat sheet. I was like, are we counting like the pitch pass to the running backs? Anything to the running backs.
Anything that is a quote-unquote pass. We are not counting rushing touchdowns, though, for this total.
Ooh. I think I'm actually going to go under, though. I feel like it's around 27, 28. Yeah.
I think that's the responsible choice. That being said, why being responsible? What the? No, kidding. Let's go on.
Me responsible? What are you doing, Koo?
Let's go on the other side of it then. Micah Alejado. Let's talk about interceptions. Last year, I was a little bit aggressive. I asked if he was going to set the record for Hawaii for least amount of interceptions in a season, minimum, however many passes it was. I think it's 200, 300 passes or something like that, whatever it was. I set it at 4.5. Ultimately, it was not that. He had 9 interceptions last year, which leads us to this year's line. Over under 8.5 interceptions.
Ooh, okay. I was going to say, are we going to go 4.5 again?
No. Does he improve on last year's interception total? Or is he tagged for 9+ giveaways this year through the air? Once again, and as you're thinking about this, I'll talk it out just a little bit where we've now talked. He's going to, in your mind, play over 11 games. He's going to play 11 or more games this season. So that is as many as he did last year. If he's fully healthy, he'll have more opportunities. But he had that awful game against Fresno State that really kind of just...
But he was hobbly already in that game.
And that's what I'm talking about, is that really skewed the numbers for the season in what his interceptions were. You know, he had a couple of bad... But sometimes that's all it takes is a couple of bad games, and then you have a normal amount of mistakes, and all of a sudden you've got double-digit interceptions. 8.5 interceptions on the year from QB1 Micah Alejado. Over or under? How's he taking care of the football for the Rainbow Warriors?
Under. just because you have that hook there. So we'll go under.
I also think it is going to be the under, but not by a whole lot. Because I do expect Mike. One, we've seen before the run and shoot, even in a different version of the run and shoot that they run now. Sometimes you can be susceptible to interceptions because there is optionality from the receivers.
Look no further than Timmy Chang.
Correct. But, if you're aggressive, sometimes things are going to happen. You're going to try and fit the ball into tight spaces. And sometimes, listen, other teams have great players too, and they're going to make plays at times. But Micah, when he came in, the big thing about him was, man, he is so smart. He takes care of the football. He knows where he's going with it at all times. I also am landing on the under in this one. And this one kind of involves Micah. I think you're going to like this one the best. This I think is my favorite question in terms of a Kuʻulei mind. Let's go the number of UH players who will have 35 or more receptions this year.
Ooh.
4.5 is the line.
Wow.
So do you get 5 or more players with 35 or more receptions? We're really spreading the ball out. Or are we going to kind of spam targets this year to the same few receivers? Because we've seen that before as well, where you get your comfort blanket. Let's see. I did have a note on this one, if I remember correctly, where the reason that line is set where it is because last year there were 4 players who eclipsed 35 or more receptions, but Carson Papunu finished the year with 33. So he just missed that 35 reception threshold. That would have given them 5 different players with at least 35 receptions last year. I did further context for you. Cam Barfield finished with 27 catches, Tama Uliata 28, Nick Senecal 28, despite playing in just 8 games. So you had 8 guys who were right around 30 receptions last year. Obviously, Pefele is injured. He might miss some time. He's probably going to be one of those guys nonetheless as long as he plays, though. What say you? 4.5 is the line. Do we get 5 guys this year with 35-plus catches?
Yes.
Yes?
Instant reaction says yes, just based on what we've seen in practice, and you don't really know
who the hell's going to get the ball
you don't know
on any given play?
Wide receiver one is at all. Like, you just really do not know. And with that being said, I think it's going to get spread out even more than we saw last year. And then you throw in the fact that Micah will stay healthy, and he's shown in practice that he has connection with everybody. Yep. So, all right, we're going to go over that.
I like it. I think I'm going to go under on this line, not because I don't think they're going to spread the ball out, but because I do think eventually we will see probably 2 or 3 guys separate themselves as favorite targets, big-time targets, whatever it may be. And then I think it's going to really get spread around because of our conversation, if you missed it in hour 1, with Jared Ursua. I mean, what did he name? 8 guys, I think?
Yeah.
Right? And that's without Pefele Ashlock healthy. That's without maybe a Jarvis Dino Hemuli coming back. And the list goes on and on. Do they involve the tight ends more this year? How much do they get out of the backs? Where I wonder if they really spread it and they just get under the 35. You get like 6 guys with between 25 and 30 receptions. That's something that I'm thinking about. But that's why I thought it was a fun little line because, I mean, the run and shoot, that's what it does. Keep it on going if you'd like to. Let's go over to the defensive side of the football, if I may. I talked about interceptions before. How about for our defense? A very new-look secondary. We've talked quite a bit about pretty much entirely new starters other than Elijah Palmer. Matongi Thompson, I guess you can kind of say, started to get into a bigger role last year, but otherwise, a lot of, I'll call them unproven guys. I think that's kind of what DT was getting at in his press availabilities these past couple of weeks, where, they still got to go prove it out in games. 8.5 is where I set the line for interceptions this year. Last year, 8 interceptions for Hawaii. Does this group improve on last year's total? They can't improve on last year's total, and they get only 8 or less. Do you see Elijah Palmer take a big step forward? Do you get some interceptions from the linebacking core that we've talked so much about? where's your mindset in terms of takeaways on interceptions?
Jeez, Paul, with these perfect lines, early stumping me right now. Not stumping a lot of the people that have already filled out their Paul's Parlor form, by the way. We have our friend out there in Boise that said he's pal with his. You got Felipe and Caesar saying they're all pal with theirs.
I have 3 responses already.
So if you guys want to play along, you can fill out the Google Doc sometime this week, once again before kickoff on Saturday. You know what? I'm going to be optimistic about this defense. Even though we talk about the youth, and by youth I mean lack of experience in game, I think they will get there and figure it out. I think we could see some surprises once again with the linebacking core. We've seen the linebackers get interceptions before with this group of defense. So yeah, let's go over. We're going to go over and be optimistic about this defense.
I like it. For reference, Elijah Palmer returns from last year's defense. He had 2 interceptions. Jemai Otis returns from last year's defense. He had 1 interception. You do have Matangi Thompson returning. He also had an interception. That's 4 of your 8 picks from last year coming back. Giovanni Iovino was another one of the linebackers who ended up getting a pick. I like it. Interceptions are difficult because similar to special teams, it is so volatile and it's kind of almost like luck half the time. It's not luck totally, because part of it is being able to make a play on the ball. Part of it is being able to go out and be sticky in coverage and whatever. But also sometimes a quarterback will just throw one to you, or sometimes a ball will get tipped up in the air in a tip drill. Instead of catching it, you drop it, and that's the difference between hitting the line or going under the line, you know? So I felt pretty good about this one overall, especially considering this defense. They got some guys who, I know they're unproven. They got some guys who should be able to make plays on the football. So excited about that one. Let's go now over to the defensive line or I guess it doesn't have to be the defensive line alone, but I would assume, considering where I set this line. Last year, you'll remember, I did a prop when it comes to the amount of sacks, or the amount of players with a certain amount of quarterback sacks. Number of players who register 5.0 or more sacks in 2026. I will set the line at 1.5, just as I did last year. Now, last year, for anybody who doesn't remember, this did ultimately hit. You had Jackie Johnson III and Dejon Benton, who were very, very good and productive for the Rainbow Warriors. Both of them are gone now, if you also remember. Those were the only 2 that hit the line. You do return Lester Laisene Longofuiaina, who had 3.5 last year. He's a guy that I kind of expect to take a pretty big leap and a breakout year this year as well. Do you see Luther McCoy in another year look a little bit more active, look a little bit better in the pass rush as well, because he had a 1.5 last year too? Does Ka'eo Akana finally get a fully healthy season and show us the talent that we all know that he's got in there? How does Spencer Elliott do, the transfer from Portland State? You also have Adam Tomczyk, the West Virginia transfer, who very quietly has had some nice plays throughout camp as well. You don't necessarily have the big names that you can expect from last year returning, but there's some good players here. Do you get 2 players or more with 5+ sacks this year?
Ooh. 2 players or more with 5+ sacks. So you said it's 2.5, right?
1.5.
Oh, 1.5. Oh.
Is the line. So 2 players would
with
be
5 or more.
The minimum that you need to pass this line. And I'll
probably going to go under.
I think that's fair.
I think there will be 1 player, and it'll be similar where there'll be other players with
Spread
more,
out.
but then it'll just be less than 5.
Reminder to people who might be a little bit confused why I'm saying 5.0 sacks, or as if you don't get a full sack.
Yeah,
if
sometimes you don't
share the takedown with another defender. You sometimes get a half a sack.
Yeah.
So that is something to keep in mind as well, where if this defensive line, do you have, strength in numbers and they get home as a group? Or is it one of these guys just takes a star turn and then all of a sudden, because, in a sense, there's a world where Lester Laisene Longofuaina comes in and he has a 10-sack year this is so athletic, he's so strong, he's able to get around to tackle. Like, that is something that I sit here and I look at and I'm curious about. I think it is totally fair to go with the under in this. And if you were to ask me, right, because last year I told people, call your shot. Who are the people who leads the team in sacks? I could not tell you right now. I'm really not sure. I think they have talent, but to borrow DT's line again, it's different when it's game reps. You know, it's just, it is. All right, let's get into our special teams and our specialty final few here. You kind of called me out here. Sadly, you know me too well. Yeah, I have the same exact line as last year. Number of 50-plus yard field goal makes.
Under
0.5. Under. You already said that you were going to be under.
Unfortunately,
anyway.
part of it is also, one, yes, I think the offense gets closer. Two, I got to see Sean hit something further in game reps to have belief that he would hit over 50 if he is given the opportunity, right? So it's like, so sadly it is going to be under.
I think
but
that's
more
fair.
so because I believe in this offense.
I think that's fair. You were on the record beforehand saying that you were going to take the under on that anyway, so I kind of figured that was coming on through. I'm going to be the one who takes the over on it, not because I think... Listen, I think there is a chance that he gets multiple opportunities as like an end of half, like instead of tossing up a Hail Mary, it's like almost, whatever, we're at midfield, let him give a boot and see if he makes it or whatever. If he makes one of those, great. And if not, whatever. And also, similar to the interceptions, he has no control where he is kicking from. He is hoping that they set him up. And to your point, you're hoping that they set him up within 35 yards and it's a chip shot every single time, because that's every kicker's dream in the world, is to just go.
There was only one last year, though, right?
Yes, only one make last year, and it was.
But only one attempt from that far.
There were 2 attempts because they also attempted one in the Hawaii Bowl, if I remember.
Oh.
But yes, yeah. They did ultimately get one make from 50 yards last year. I will say it is a little different because last year it was, I'm not sure if Kansei is going to get the opportunity because, 50 is kind of where his range ends. Sean's got the leg. It's just he's got to be able to hit more consistently from that distance. So I think that's absolutely fair. We've talked a lot about returns, Ku. Talked a lot about returns. We gassed up Kai Carvalho. I've talked about how Cam Barfield is a solid returner. Tama Uliata beefed up on top of being a hell of an athlete. How many kick return, punt returns for a touchdown will Hawaii have this year? The line is set at 0.5. You just need one. But obviously, they are pretty rare. And on top of that, as we've seen, Hawaii is more than happy to just hit singles in the special teams game. But to be fair, they did have a special teams return touchdown last year. Cam Barfield had a kick return for a touchdown last year. So it's happened, and they do get opportunities. And we kind of have argued that they have more explosive returners this year. But also, do you really want to take an opportunity out of Micah Alejado's hands? Are they just going to be willing to hit singles again? Because I think it's not a crazy idea to think. And also, I mean, we're talking, even if they're not hitting singles, even if they get an opportunity to return each time, I mean, shoot, is it really that likely that they're going to get a punt return, kick return touchdown? This, I will say, I specify, you get both in this. So if it's a punt return touchdown or a kick return touchdown, this line hits.
This would be a lot easier to go over if we didn't have the history of being very conservative, which again,
it's probably the right call.
Considering what happened, how the season started last year, after that, you're like just focused on catching and securing the football.
I get it.
Nothing else, especially when you can do, like, if you fair catch it, you move up, right? You get that extra yardage depending on where you are on the field. Man. But yes, we did have that one on Cam Barfield, or with Cam Barfield. I feel like I got to go conservative with this because until they prove otherwise, it's most times they're not returning the football. So this is one that I hope I am definitely wrong in, but I'm going with what we consistently see. And in order to increase your chances of returning it back for a touchdown, you actually have to attempt to return it. And I think they might start off being conservative once again and maybe open it up down the back end of the season. So because the lack of opportunities to even return the football, I am going to go under on this one.
I think that is a responsible choice by you.
Dang it. Why am I being so responsible?
We all have to be a little bit responsible when we go to the parlor. It's just how it is. Let's finish things up here. 3 more questions for you, Ku'ulei. Total UH players on the end of season all Mountain West teams. That's first and second team. Over under 6.5. Last year, Hawaii got 6 players. And the preseason poll this year, 4 players made the preseason all-conference team. Obviously, just 1 team made up of that. Do they get 7 players or more for all-conference selections between first and second team this year on offense, defense, or special teams?
I think it's going to be under. I think it'll land at 6.
I think that's fair.
So that'll be, like averaging 3 offense, 3 defense. Yeah.
I think that's
that's what I'm going with.
I think it's totally fair, especially considering there are a lot of new faces, a lot of new
Yeah,
names
that's
in the
why
Mountain
I'm like, I
West.
don't
do
really
think
know
they'll
yet.
spread around some
Yeah.
of the awards. The reason I set this line, obviously, is because, and I've said this multiple times, I expect this Hawaii team to be able to compete for a Mountain West championship.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, you need to be one of the most talented teams in the conference. Look back in previous years, whether it was for Boise State, Fresno State, UNLV, or whatever, they would reach these lines. So hence why it's there. Total major Mountain West end of season award winners for UH. Now, what am I saying when I'm talking about that? There are 5 awards here.
Wait, what were you going on with the first, second team? Over or under?
Oh, I go over. I'm just a positive Paul, baby. Come on. No, total major Mountain West end of season award winners for Hawaii. Now, what the hell is Paul talking about major award winners? Great. I'm glad you asked, Ku'ulei. Hawaii would win one of or more Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Special Teams Player of the Year, or Freshman of the Year. Those are the 5 categories that I am counting as major conference awards. All you got to do is win one. All you got to do is win one of those, and you hit this line of 0.5 specialty awards. I will remind you before you give your answer that Micah Alejado is the preseason pick for Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. Jackson Eck of New Mexico is the Defensive Player of the Year in the preseason, and then North Dakota State got the Mountain West Special Teams Player of the Year in the preseason in Jackson Williams. And then, obviously, our Timmy Chang was not the selection for the preseason coach of the year or anything like that because they didn't give any of those. Anyway, 0.5. You got 5 different categories.
Over.
I also think it's over.
Let's go.
Can I give you a bold take?
Sure.
I think they win 2 of them.
Ooh.
You want me to call my shot?
I feel like I know where this is going.
You absolutely do, because Timmy Chang's going to be your coach of the year,
sir.
and Micah Alejado is going to be your offensive player of the year, and man, oh man, it's going to be the year of the bows. That's where I'm sitting, because season hasn't started yet, and I'm positive Paul, and I think that would be super fun. Also, realistically speaking, if they do go where I think that they can go this year, and all of this obviously is held up on health, because injuries can totally... I mean, we've already seen with people starting to get a little weary on Hawaii because Pefele Ashlock isn't fully healthy right away, heaven forbid. I go over on this. In fact, I go doubly over on this.
Doubly, I like that.
Last question then for you, Ku. We got the total wins by UH this season. And I don't think anybody will choose the final option, but maybe we have some Hawaii haters who will find their way to Paul's Parlor for this year in terms of responses. I set the line at 9.5. 9.5 wins for the Rainbow Warriors in 2026. It'd be the first team since 2019 to reach double-digit victories for the University of Hawaii football program. Last year, I'll remind you, they finished 9-4 with the victory in the Hawaii Bowl. That would be an under this year if they won just. So, total wins by UH, over under 9.5. Are they the first team since that 2019 Mountain West runner-up to reach double-digit victories? Do they top out at 9 wins or less? Well, here, the under, and this is exact wording on Paul's Parlor for anybody auditory listening. Total wins by UH, over under 9.5 wins. Over, they become the first team to reach double-digit victories. Under, they top out at 9 wins or would bottom out at 6 wins. Or I do have the chaos option, and Hawaii misses a bowl game this year.
Definitely not that one.
I would be shocked.
But if anyone is like, yeah, I would be shocked too.
But like I said, if a Hawaii hater finds their way here, it wouldn't shock me if they wanted to toss that in there. I like to give people their opportunity. I mean, it's a real.
That is a very positive Paul over under win total there.
It's going to be difficult.
Very optimistic, yeah.
It is going to be difficult.
But it does have to all align, like you were saying. Like if Hawaii gets to 10 wins, it would mean everything else probably came with it beforehand in this whole list of Paul's Parlor, like down to the passing yards, right? Because that's how they're going to win games and all of that stuff. The end of season awards,
try to make it pretty cohesive if I can.
It's so weird because I feel like I'm apologizing for this because it feels weird to say sorry, but I think it will be like 9 will be the max, so I will go under. But the 7.5 was the on the actual market. It's real market. It's 7.5, and I went over. Paul. Like I had no hesitation to go over the 7.5 because I think Hawaii will land at 8 or 9, which does get them into a bowl game. But yeah, I'm again like even though Hawaii had 9 wins, me being optimistic that they'll land at 9 wins is like nothing to apologize for because that's still being optimistic about the season. But yeah, I think that's difficult to 10 wins, especially considering some of the. I know we say they have a very favorable schedule, but there are still very worthy opponents on Hawaii's schedule. Yeah, so I'm like, we're gonna go under the 9.5, but it's not gonna be chaos. That's for sure.
I don't think it'll be chaos either. Once again, it would take, I mean, a collapse of epic proportions for Hawaii to not make a bowl game this year, I think. And that would include injuries. That would include, I mean, wild, unforeseen circumstances, all of that. I set because I knew it would be so difficult for you, because I do think a lot of people are sitting on 9 wins for Hawaii this year. I think a lot of people are looking at it as like a probable 9-3 season. Take your pick on where the losses come, whether it's 1 in conference and then they lose their 2 against P4 opponents, whether it's 2 in conference and they lose 1 versus Stanford versus Arizona State. But then, by the way, 9-3, you still get a bowl game after that, which would give you an opportunity to still go 10-3, which is why I talked about it. And also, I mean, 9-3, considering where those losses could come, could set you up for a Mountain West Championship appearance. So that's an extra game on top of it as well. So there is a world where Hawaii could play, 15 games this season? I mean, theoretically, they could play even more if they make it to the college football playoff. But, that's part of the reason why I toss it out there. I was like, okay. Or 14 games, I guess it is, because they don't have their 13th game like usual. But, that is the reasoning why I went with it. I'm going to go over, by the way, because I am positive, Paul, and we'll go through it before game week. We'll give our official schedule predictions and whatever and lock it in. But I'm personally going over in this one. Listen, I'm expecting a big year from Hawaii. I don't know if anybody can tell, but I'm expecting a pretty good year for Timmy Chang's Rainbow Warriors. You don't get this much off-season attention and then completely crap the bed. Yeah. You just can't do it. And if you do, man, I don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah, let's hope we do not have to have any of that discussion. So there you have it, folks. Paul's Parlor for this 2026 University of Hawaii football season. The link is in our YouTube live chat right now. We'll put it in the description for those of you that might be watching on demand. We'll share it on our social media, all of that stuff. Shout out to a few of you that have already filled out your Paul's Parlor Google Doc form. Again, this is just for funsies, and it's a fun thing to track as the season goes along. But again, shout out and mahalo to Honorbox Chiropractic and Slice of Waikiki for their support of our expanded coverage of Hawaii football on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. But we'll be right back. We're going to take a super quick break, and we're going to close out with some Hawaii high school football. Woo! Woo! Because some big wins. Let's go. Next on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to all of you, the beautiful list of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. Kuʻulei, Agbayani, and Paul Brecht with you on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, hawaiisportsradio.com, and on our YouTube channel. Shout out and mahalo to all of you that tune in live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Hawaii time, whether it is tuning in on our audio platforms or via our YouTube channel. All right, we don't got a ton of time left, but I want to make sure we at least definitely mention some of the top results from high school football this past weekend. We'll probably have more time to talk about it a little later in the week with just recapping overall all the games. I want to definitely make sure we at least mention and highlight the game that we covered last week Friday on Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Mahalo to Kuʻulei Federal Credit Union again for their continued support of our coverage of OIA football. Just when you were like, what's going to happen? Waipahu having a big showing over Campbell in that first week for the cane knife. Essentially an upset with Waipahu being in Division 1 over the Open Division Campbell and defending state champions. Kapolei, first game of the season. They were not in action that opening week. Their game last week got canceled due to Tropical Storm Lala. And you know what? Other than the penalties, because that's when you kind of got to get used to, we talk about the game reps, and there were a lot of unnecessary penalties by Kapolei. 50 burger, 5-0 to 15. The Kapolei Hurricanes over Waipahu Marauders. Again, just a reminder, though, Kapolei is in the Open Division and Waipahu in Division 1, but Kapolei proving that the divisions are correct in that standpoint. And another pure chaos. Again, I can't wait to see Michael Liscaro's top 25 rankings because we'll see some major shakeup, at least in the top 10 because of the results of this weekend. Once again, we'll get back to the Kapolei game in just a second, but other results to affect the rankings by Michael Liscaro is Mililani's massive shutout win over St. Louis, as I'll pull up the scoreboard for you guys watching on our YouTube channel. So massive win once again. Mililani, what was it, the first shutout win since like 2012?
Since 2012. I was in middle school the last time St. Louis put up 0 points in a game. It legitimately was stunning.
42-0. But another one that I kind of mentioned where this is what would be a big result for high school football because we weren't really sure. This is something I talked about last year on where things like stood with Kamehameha, Kapa, Lama, and how they were looking. But they come out with a big win of their, or not they, Kahuku, excuse me. See, I'm all over the place because I'm trying to like look at these photos too. Shout out to all of the people that are taking photos for us on our social media. Kind of give them the photo credit there. We got a little bit. I wanted to make sure we put some other like islands and stuff out here. But Kahuku, excuse me, not Kamehameha Kapalama. Kahuku coming out big over Kamehameha Kapalama in a, as to be expected, almost a low-scoring game. But nonetheless, the team that was the number one on Michael Liscaro's list.
Down they go.
I feel validated now that I was kind of arguing that it should be Mililani after their win. But man, a couple of big wins for the OIA schools. All right, going back to the Kuʻulei game though, because once again, I want to make sure we highlight this guy, Chaz Michael, aka Mikey Kapahu, running back for Kuʻulei and our Fun Factory VIP of the game. Broke Kuʻulei's school record with 223 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns in that 50-13 win. But Mikey Kapahu, and just the way that he runs, and honestly, a lot of what the Kuʻulei was doing, their line on both sides of the football, massive human beings. Like Kuʻulei is, I am looking forward to seeing this open division, now seeing the results that we saw in the OIA, where right now it's looking like I don't know who is going to win with Mililani, Kahuku, and Kuʻulei. I know we have your beloved Lelehua in there and stuff, but these top three teams are top 3, but I want to make sure we let you guys hear from our Fun Factory VIP of the game in Chaz Michael Kapahu, a.k.a. Mikey Kapahu, as Michael Liscaro had a chance to catch up with him following that game.
All right, we're at Mikey Kapahu, our Fun Factory VIP of the game. Well, Mikey, you ran over for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Talk about this win to open up the season.
First of all, I want to thank all the boys right here, my O-line, dude. Made amazing blocks tonight, gave me the holes, and I just hit them. And I want to thank T-Fab, putting adversity for me, making me grow. I want to thank my mom, my brothers, my sisters, always catching my back. I want to thank all the Kuʻulei people, the community, they're amazing, the Kuʻulei staff, Coach Mike, Atiabi them. And I also want to thank Almagene Foundation for always letting me lift up pumpkins.
All right. You guys had some adversity, right? Having your guys' game last week canceled. So I know some penalty in this game, from holding and whatnot, but you guys definitely dominated 15-50, 50-15. So kind of talk about the job the overall team did.
Overall, the team, they did amazing. We was getting turnovers on the defense. We was getting good field position on the kick returns and the punt returns. The offense, we was scoring. And we didn't have no turnovers, so yeah, we did amazing.
I thought the defense set the tone early on, and they had 2 sacks on the first drive, and you guys scored right away after that. What can you say with the defense? Because they shut it down for the most part.
Oh yeah, they did. All the boys on defense, like Mana them, they was reading. We practiced super hard. Like Mana, Noah, Make, Bryce, Noah, CJ, Hayden, and Mo, like Brock. They all did their thing, and they balled out tonight.
Talk about the O-line behind you.
Oh, yeah. Well, these are my boys right here. We put the work in every day. We 100% every day, and I love these boys.
And not only that, not only you got it in the running game, but your other running backs as well. I think even at the end, another guy scored, right? So what can you say about the running backs backing you up and how that you guys probably have the best running back room in the state?
I wouldn't say they're backing me up. I would say they do their thing too when they get their opportunities. My boy Kalani boy and Ryzen, they dogs. And I love them.
How do you guys build from this? Make sure that you guys are winning the state championship or the OI trophy, and make sure that this is just not one game.
We're just gonna put our heads down, be humble, and keep working every day.
Anything you guys want to say?
Mikey to go.
Mikey to go.
You gotta love
Mikey
that.
to go.
And that was Mikey Kapahu, the running back for Kuʻulei, our Fun Factory VIP of the game from last Friday's 50-15 win in favor of the Hurricanes over the Waipahu Marauders. But yeah, just like you said, put your head down and be humble. And I do love all of his answers there. Very, very humble kid, where Michael asked the question, how do you feel about the other guys backing you up? And his instant answer, no hesitation, was like, I wouldn't say they're backing me up. They're just doing their own thing. Like, I love that. He genuinely does seem like a really humble kid. So future is bright though for Mikey Kapahu, because man, we put up the highlights there for people watching on YouTube during that interview. That guy can run, and the yards after contact. Whew.
Yeah, he runs mean, very, very mean. I joked with you just now off air. I'm like, oop, new Landon Sims just dropped, and Nate Ilawa, like the bigger backs in UH history. Let's get at our boy. No. But I don't want to put pressure on him. But what a performance! I mean, I said it before. It's good or what? You set a new state or a new school record. It's not too bad, especially if I'm not mistaken. This was Kuʻulei's first game, yeah, because they had everything else canceled. They were just
they weren't scheduled for the first week, and then they had last week. Yeah, last week was canceled. Where I think they kind of talked about it on the broadcast, where it's almost good that game got canceled, because that Kuʻulei team. Yeah, they look scary.
They are absurd. You said it before. The Open Division in the OIA, they got at the very least 3 contenders. They all showed out this past weekend, whether it was Mililani with a massive statement against St. Louis, Kahuku flexing the defensive muscle against another very, very strong Kamehameha squad, or Kuʻulei crushing a Waipahu squad that, I mean, embarrassed Campbell in week 1. Those are 3 pretty big statement performances from over the weekend. I'm excited to see how the rest of the year goes, and you can catch a bunch of it here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
This Thursday, we've got Waialua. We got Battle of the Bulldogs. The Bulldog Bowl is what we are terming it.
Wow.
That's why we had Darnell Arsenault on the broadcast. He is the AD over at Waialua. So now we're saying it's the Bulldog Bowl anytime Waialua faces Kaimuki, and that's coming up this Thursday on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. We'll talk more high school football throughout the week, and of course, keep you ready for game week for UH versus Stanford kicking off this Saturday. And then amongst other things, we got Rainbow Wahine Volleyball that is also kicking off or serving their season this weekend as well. But for now, I know we got to go.
Fine.
For now, fine. But hope you guys will fill out and participate in Paul's Parlor. We'll chat with you guys on Wednesday right here, 8 a.m. Hawaii time. Until next time, Paul Brecht, I'm Kuʻulei Agbayani. Mahalo for listening and watching. It's been Wake Up in the Den. Bye.
Listening to the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, streaming 24/7 at hawaiisportsradio.com and on the new Hawaii Sports Radio app.